I was wrong in doing what I did.
No, no! No! Are you listening?
Apologies in advance. There is a fan on in the background. Sean here, and I have to say, the number one thing, if you have a therapist or a counselor, and you were to tell them about Lorne, and if you mentioned that this guy is in a relationship with these parameters and these are the interactions, they're going to have a question for you. It's pretty much the same question I have for myself. It's baffling. What kind of person puts themselves in a hell of their own making? Lorne Armstrong. Keyword, desperate. Look at the homeless situation. And it might be necessity. Look at the homeless situation. In some states, they're right there on the sidewalk. Huge communes. People just trying to survive. They put themselves there because they had to, because it was out of necessity. They were desperate. They didn't put themselves there because they chose to be there. And there is a misconception about homelessness. Everybody might want to give them the benefit of the doubt. They were just dealt the wrong hand. Things didn't work out. No, most of them, it was by their own making. And that's Lorne. If you think about it, the line between Lorne and living in one of those homeless shelters is very thin. And I'm not knocking anybody that is homeless. I'm not. And I'm not saying that everybody that is homeless is some kind of crackhead. What I am saying is that Lorne, he's walking that fine line. Massively in debt. Running out of people that he knows that are alive, that he can mooch off of, that he can live with. Once that's gone, and he's stuck in his trailer, he's either going to have to work full-time, which I don't think he'll ever work full-time until everyone he knows dies. And he has to choose. Do I give up the only thing I've ever called home? Well, besides mom's basement. Or do I actually go out and get a job and make money for myself? Lorne is a line walker, habitual line stepper. He walks the line, not like a cool rebel, not like Johnny Cash. No, we're talking about a guy who walks the line of falling into a pit of despair and barely squeaking by. A guy who doesn't seem to care that he's right there on that line. As long as he's a centimeter on the surviving line, he's okay. I've never seen or heard or even thought of a man like Lorne Armstrong who would be okay with where he's at, who could wake up every day, look around and say, you know what? This is it. This is the best it's ever going to be. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I started a low grade when I joined. I worked my ass off. And finally, after 17 years, I was 7 pay grades up, a manager. I was very happy and very proud of myself. Was I rich? No. But I told myself I can either complain about it or I can do something. I hear these people at work all the time complaining about, I don't get paid enough. I'm doing 2 jobs. I hate this. I hate that. But the minute you bring up changing your situation, they peace out of the conversation. No, I've been here so long I can't go anywhere else. Lie. I thought the same thing. But I made the transition, and it was scary. They say that every 3 to 4 years you should be getting a new job. Get a pay bump, keep going, build your resume, and it's kind of a salary wave, right? Lorne's chosen professions, they don't really have that. He drives truck. Now maybe if you know somebody, you get higher paying loads. I don't know, to-do-doots. If you know somebody, maybe you get that. Maybe that's how you move up in the world. You get the primo routes and they can rely on you. I didn't research truck driving. I just didn't. But back to what I was saying about the line, he just walks there. He has no plan to better himself. He has no plan to make anything other than what he is right now. And that's a big fat loser. We all go through hard times. Really hard times. Times when people were bringing me food after the divorce because I couldn't afford it, because my ex had taken out secret loans that we were having to pay back. We got divorced at the worst time in the world financially. It was not a good time at all. Apologies. In the middle of that, I had to switch rooms because my crazy kid came upstairs. He doesn't understand the concept of don't interrupt. Things were bad. Really bad. I was ashamed. I was borrowing money, being barely able to pay it back. In some cases, it took me 2 months to pay it back. I was just trying to get somewhere where I could get my life in a manageable situation. Now, I told you my ex, she got married instantly, like moved in as soon as she possibly could. She's very codependent. I am not. Don't fault her for it, but it made her financial situation a lot easier. Me, I'm still single. I'm still handling responsibilities. And it sucks and it's tough, but I figure out a way to make it work. Lorne's way to make it work is to put himself in worse situations. Now, how is that possible? How can you go downhill but still be managing to running up that hill? How can you run up that hill? It's pretty simple. Low-hanging fruit. I don't know if you've heard the story about the frog who gets in hot water and they slowly turn it up, and before he knows it, he's cooked, right? Or you hear about, you know what, I'm not even going to go into those stories, but you know what I'm saying. That's Lorne. His world starts to shrink. He starts picking from over here, dirt over there, starts picking from here, from there, little tricks to get by, tricks that depend on specific parameters, specific occurrences, situations that are going to go away when the people he knows dies, when he has no one else to mooch off of. How long do you think it's going to take? Seriously, ask yourself, how long do you think it's going to take before this man, when Roy either goes crazy or Roy drinks himself to death, Roy moves and doesn't tell Lorne where he's going, his mom dies, there's no one else alive. How long do you think it's going to take before his other siblings get a tearful phone call? I am so sorry for the way I've treated you. I'm all alone. How it bothers me. How long do you think that's going to take? If you look at the face on your screen right now, we've all seen that guy. The guy sitting alone at the bus stop. We've seen this guy walking down the street, dirty, with the backpack on. Lorne is probably weeks. No, I take that back. Months from homelessness, once everyone he knows is gone. When your parents die, the people that have been there for you all along, hopefully, I know there are some families where it's a strained relationship. I get it. Doesn't have to be your parents, grandparents, somebody, cool aunt or uncle, someone that's been there for you, best friend, whoever. They've been there for you. When you needed something, they didn't even bat an eyelash. They just handed it to you. Take this. I won't say his last name, but there's a guy named Doug, man. I'm going to choke up right now. My car, this is in the worst period of my life. My car stops driving. Just stops. It just stops turning. I managed to get to the side of the road. It's not running correctly. I go home. I post on Facebook, does anyone have a trailer that they would be willing to let me borrow? I can pay for the gas, which would have been all the money I had. I didn't say that though. Without flinching, boom, instantly. He and I used to be rivals, and we became best friends. We were under the same pressure cooker, working for a guy that played people against each other on purpose, much like Steve Jobs, the guy that I idolized because he taught me so many valuable lessons. But we became friends. And what did he do? Not only did this man pick up my car, he drove it like I was confused. Where are we going? And he drove it into the parking lot of an automotive repair shop. His church, who I only knew one other person there, had pooled together enough money to fix this piece of shit's car. I felt like a piece of shit. And I felt even more of a piece of shit when I realized I was having to require help from a church. I was that guy. But I came to see it as a gift. I tried to pay it back. They didn't want me to pay it back. It was a gift. It was a really tough situation for me. If I don't have to, I don't want to be bailed out. I don't want people to know about any financial woes that I have unless I'm telling a story and stuff like this comes in. Had there been no Doug, I would have been screwed. The car messed up again shortly after that. My dad, it's another story. My dad had a credit card and he was able to pay for the remaining repairs that needed to be done. The steering cables. It was a really rough time. These are times that this douchebag goes through all the time. He's a grifter. If he finds out that there's a place that helps people like him out, he can give them their sob story. He probably doesn't care right now because it doesn't matter because he doesn't plan. Maybe there's an organization out there, like the people who leave Scientology. There's an Aftermath Foundation. They try to help them because they've given all their money away. They're in debt because of this cult. They have an Aftermath Foundation. I don't know if there's an Aftermath Foundation for TCAP pedos. I know there are programs out there. I haven't looked into them because, quite honestly, I don't like to research this kind of stuff. But I know there are programs out there that try to help people get back on their feet. Lorne's is called probation and parole. He can't pass his class. He can't do anything. He hasn't learned anything. And I don't ever think he will. And that is his problem. If he was improving, when people help you out, if you improve, you eventually get to the point where you can help others out. Lorne's not going to do that. He's not going to improve. That's the problem. You can't put him in one of these programs because they expect to see some kind of improvement. They're not going to support you. And you know Lorne the Grifter, well, this week was really rough. Next week I'm going to do it. Like he tells Jamie on the phone, I'm going to look for a job. Well, I tried to today. Those guys are going to call me back. Lorne, didn't you go look for another job? Well, I'm still waiting on a call back for this possible job from another guy who said he might have something for me. I have to pause, man, because I don't understand how you can live like this. People who've had their lives destroyed by drugs, there are programs that can help them get back on their feet because there are people out there who care. Now, I don't usually talk, but one of the things I do, I donate my time to, they called them battered women's shelters. They don't call them that anymore, but I'm going to say you guys would understand what that is. And the other is to help families of kids who have very special needs. Those families, their life is all those kids. I help with the kids, man, but you want to see a grown man break down like a little bitch? Let me see one of these kids barely able to walk, struggling, still making it to the door, while pieces of shit like Lorne, they would have given up, just laid in the hospital bed. His dream is, think about this. This is real. His dream is to probably be in a nursing home with all of these women attending to him. Him pretending like he can't bathe himself, asking all of them their names, wanting to know about their personal lives. He can't afford it. I don't think he'd be anywhere. He's not a Mason. He can't be in any of the Masonic homes. I mean, the guy, he has no options. But his dream would be to watch TV all day, have a woman come in every hour or two. Hey, Betty, can I call you back in here? Hey, you won't sit here and watch this TV with me? No, Mr. Armstrong, I can't. Why not? You cheating on me. The guy walks the line between complete and epic utter failure and barely surviving, putting yourself in a hellish situation. Lorne is so desperate. I think at one point he claimed that Winnie was his best relationship, and we know that relationship. We know how toxic it was. He thought it was his best relationship because it was his most exciting. He had different people to talk to. They were interacting. His entire world was this invisible make-believe world that he had built up in his head that he could escape to whenever real life set in. That's why he was so angry when he couldn't get her on the phone, because he wanted to be on the phone at all times so he didn't have to deal with real life. When you put yourself in a situation like that, where you're angry all the time and crying, you're using it as an excuse to drink, it's affecting your ability to do day-to-day things, and you voluntarily put yourself there, you have a problem. Some of you, listening to this right now, have put yourself in a hellish situation. You haven't weighed the pluses and the minuses. You don't have to. Trust your feelings. How are you feeling? Are you upset? Are you sad a lot? Is it worth going to counseling? Because if it's not, you don't want to be there. It's only going to get worse, and your resentment is going to build. And I think some of Lorne's issue was there was some resentment against these women. He started to use them as the reason that his life was terrible. He started to resent them. He desperately needed them. He didn't really need them, but in his head he needed them. But he started to resent them because he assumed they were what was making his life terrible. He hates them, then he loves them, and then he hates them again. Therapist, counselor, anybody will tell you that any fool will put himself in a situation that is hell, it's only going to get worse. I mean, if you're willing to step into hell, you're never going to see a heaven. You're never going to see, not even heaven, you're never going to see a good life. You're going to see what he has. You're going to see the line. Looking forward, you may see a bright future, but look right back over your shoulder and you'll see the apocalypse. And that's what Lorne does every day. Looks ahead of himself, sees a little bit of hope, because if he turns around and he looks at what's behind him, the scorched earth he created, the scorched earth that is catching up to him, that line keeps moving and he's not moving fast enough, it's going to catch him and he's going to burn. It's going to get him, and he's going to be living in a homeless shelter, and you're not going to be able to find him. He's going to be John Doopy and all those other guys. You're not going to be able to find him because he's going to be a transient, if he's not dead or in prison. So walking the fine line between heaven and the apocalypse is not a good idea. You need to get far enough away from the apocalypse so you can have a good life. And he'll never have a good life. And good for him. Because I hate Lorne Armstrong, as we all do. That's my video. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.
Hang on, I can't even catch my breath. Hang on.
What?